Good to go.
Yep, good to go.
All right, we got a work session to call to order, August 17th, 2023, not a work session, this is a special council meeting for the town of Selma. We've got a few items to look over for this special council meeting, and let me read those out to you to make sure we don't go outside the bounds of our agenda. We've got board recommendations, we've got a tourism board recommendation, and we're going to go over our council board application process, discuss that and make sure that is clearly laid out for everybody and disseminated to the public. Councilman McKay will be stepping down at the end of this month as he will, to our chagrin, be moving out of the town of Selma. So we are going to outline that process on how to apply for that vacant seat and make sure that we have a timeline for how long we'll leave that application process open. We do have a business item of a athletic coordinator job description to look at from Human Resources, and we also have a town manager contract to look at and decide whether or not we are going to ratify and agree to the contract that we have before us for a potential town manager. I don't think we have any items for closed session, do we? So we will not anticipate going into closed session unless one of these items that are on the agenda need to be discussed further in closed session. All right, so jumping right into it, tourism board recommendations. So what we've had is a few discussions from tourism over recent months about particularly billboards and signage around the town of Selma to guide people to the town of Selma. We have gotten some, I guess, suggestions from Johnston County Visitors Bureau. We've gotten some information from the Tourism Board. Do we have some of those items handy? Bring them on up. Let's let everybody take a look at what's on the table right now.
Would you prefer me to make enough copies for everybody?
Everybody want a copy? Yeah, let's get a copy for everybody. That'd be fantastic. So with that being said, quite frankly, I think we as a council also need to give some guidance along with these tourism board recommendations, Johnston County Visitors Bureau recommendations. First and foremost, I just want to throw it out on the table. I believe that everything town of Selma related needs to follow the same pattern, the same flow, the same design, the same colors. If you glance at it, you need to be able to immediately know town of Selma.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
So as we're getting some copies made, is there anything you want to?
I mean, I can speak on behalf of the discussions that have been regarding
Yeah.
the content, if you'd like.
And then we also have of the tourism committee, we have Mr. James Laster here as well. So Mr. Laster, if there's anything that you'd like to point out or discuss related to this as far as the recommendations from tourism are concerned, feel free to jump in, okay? So what do we have right now?
Okay, so to discuss the digital billboards, currently there are 3 to 4 rotating billboards. The discussion was whether they were gonna be in the Wilson's Mills digital board coming into Selma or the Princeton board coming into Selma.
Was it or?
I believe it was a discussion in the beginning of they were trying to get counts to see which might have more counts coming from one direction or the other. And it appears that Wilson's Mills had a slightly higher count, so it was.
Let me hold you there.
Oh.
Council, it was my understanding that we said put them on both, didn't we? Am I
They
mistaken?
went through Wilson Mill, has to go back through Princeton to get
Yeah,
back there.
see it twice.
Originally, I did think that that was the case. I do believe that they did decide to go with the Wilson's Mills because they said it was a higher
Who's
count.
they?
I know that the Visitors Bureau has had the discussions with the interstate in regards to the billboards. So when speaking at the meeting the other day, they did confirm that the cost was only for one of those billboards. But in glancing back at an email, originally it would be rotated from Wilson's Mills to Princeton. And I believe that was like a May first of May email that we had gotten. So I was personally under the impression that it would be rotating back and forth, so that there would be some, attention paid to the Selma boards on both billboards. So I believe it was 725. So the fee, I believe, is an estimated $7.25 per month.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The fee, I believe, is, Ms. Taylor said, $7.25 per month per billboard, if we were to do both of them. I do not know, I was under the impression, though, that we could rotate back and forth, and if that is a recommendation of council to request that Interstate rotate them so that we can have some on both, I would assume that maybe we could work something out in that direction.
Well, how do you know which rotation is the most advantageous for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
I mean, who decided this? Was it the tourism board, or
I believe
was
that
it our committee here in
the
Selma?
Visitors Bureau did
The
the counts.
Visitors Bureau.
I believe they did the counts, and then after speaking back and forth with Interstate, they decided that it would be Wilson's Mills because the count was higher, as far as the traffic count. So
I'd love to know how they got to that.
And one of the members of the tourism, I was under the impression myself that it was gonna be on both boards, not one board.
Okay.
But then when she mentioned the price of $725 for each board, and we, kinda had to regroup I was thinking we get permission from the council to do it on two boards.
So what was the difference between 4 on 95, cut to 2 and 2? Still got 4.
What was the difference?
Same price. Still got 4 out there.
you're saying because we took 2 away from 95 to add the 2 digitals?
Yeah.
I've not seen the price comparison in those two, so I can't speak on that part.
We did not discuss the price comparison in the committee.
So, and again, I think we were all under the impression that our request was to figure out what the amount was for both billboards and then do it. I mean, those are the discussions we had in these chambers on a regular basis. So I'm a little confused on why the John Stewart County Visitors Bureau did not understand the English that was coming out of our mouths sitting in this meeting. So maybe we need to go back to the Visitors Bureau and say, give us the price for both billboards going both ways on 70. And then maybe we'll make some adjustments to the budget from there.
Okay. So there, in the discussions that we recently had during the tourism meeting, we actually spent about an hour discussing 2 months worth of boards. And it's a lot of content to discuss, and then when you're looking at designs on top of that, you get a lot of feedback, great feedback, especially when it comes from your downtown businesses, and community members. So when we discuss this, I think that the tourism committee is trying to find the recommendation from the council as to which direction we want to head in with the boards. They did put out like a generalized, content, like a spreadsheet for each month for a year, and it would include, Dine in Selma, Experience Selma, Shop in Downtown Selma, different things, and for events also. We did make some minor adjustments to those because some of the events we were not gonna have any longer, or we're not gonna put on the boards. So there's a lot of conversation that can go into the design of these boards and to the content, and when everybody started talking about rotating the pictures and stuff, we wanna make sure we have updated pictures, but we want to know what direction council would like to go in as far as what pictures you'd like to see and what information you'd like to see on the boards.
Well, let me start by saying, when I pull through some of these designs that we have here, and I see a picture of Dwayne's and a billboard that says Dwayne's that's being paid for by the town of Selma. Dwayne's is a business that's doing very well. They've been here forever, and I believe they buy their own billboards. Am I mistaken?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they do their own thing.
So we're having a conversation about taxpayer dollars being used to subsidize the advertisement of a business that's doing incredibly well. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Dwayne's. They got a lot of awesome stuff. But this is taxpayer dollars that need to go a long way to make sure that we are attracting folks to things, quite frankly, that we haven't attracted folks to before. And I know at Christmas, everybody knows where Dwayne's is.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe Dwayne's has their own marketing department.
They do.
So I thought about that too. And I understand they're within our tax base, but yet, we're talking here, and we're already in the middle of August, and we're what, 6 weeks into a fiscal period?
Yeah.
And we're having this discussion now?
Well, we are behind the 8 ball, I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah.
So for the direction, first of all, for these established businesses, we're not advertising for established businesses. That's not the point of taxpayer dollars. Now, the big point of taxpayer dollars, first and foremost, we are in the midst of trying to revitalize our downtown. That's the bottom line. There's never been any confusion about that. I can go over to the corner of 70 at 95, and they're doing fine. We're not trying to send anybody over there any more than they're already being sent over there, because we're trying to revitalize the downtown. I see up here, Old North State Food Hall. We actually took that out of the budget for advertising for Old North State Food Hall.
So what's it doing in here?
They did discuss offering dining options when it comes to the dine-in board. And they discussed possibly rotating what dining options we do have. And I know Mom and M's is new to the town, so I definitely think that we need to do something for that also.
So let me piggyback onto what you're saying. The town of Selma then should take the stance that for those up-and-comers, or those places where people might not be able to see it off the highway, that's what you put on a billboard. So let's just make it clear that this is what we're telling everybody, this is what's happening. I don't wanna see Dwayne's on a town of Selma billboard that our taxpayer dollars are paying for. I don't wanna see Old North State Food Hall on a town of Selma billboard that our taxpayers' dollars are looking for. And while we're talking about it, I don't necessarily wanna see pictures of the inside of shops that we don't even know where it is.
Right.
What's the point? This seems like common sense.
Would you like to go in the direction of, are you suggesting maybe new businesses and some downtown shots to show off the Selma scenery and attractions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then let's,
Some of the people we hadn't featured.
that's exactly right. And let's, even with that, we're talking about live at the Rudy Christmas Jubilee. That's an established business. Now, if we have nothing else going on in the world, and we get to a particular point where we need to highlight the Rudy, fine. But the Rudy, if we're gonna be advertising anything happening in the Rudy, that should be a function of a picture that the Rudy just happens to be in looking down the street of Selma.
Right.
So, again, I don't want private businesses to think we're gonna carry your bag for you. So, if I need to compose an email to somebody, if I need to send an email to the Visitors Bureau and explain to them, here are your guidelines, don't play with our money anymore, I will. But we can't have this anymore. These pictures that I'm looking at are from the 80s?
We are working on getting them some new. We have provided them some new updated photos, and I have told them that I'd like for them to have some more updated photos to
Yeah.
use. A lot of the festival billboards, we actually did get into a lot of discussion about the Railroad Dates billboard. We, I believe, came to a conclusion for everybody that maybe instead of a photo, an old photo, we would do something that kind of mimicked the poster that would be shared. And I do have a picture of that as well. But I would like the direction of the council to understand. We've had a lot of conversations about it. We've had a lot of recommendations from committee and a lot of discussion. So I would like to make sure that we do have some clear discussion about it, and then that way we know which direction to go in.
So, tourism.
I was just saying.
No, you come on here.
Because, I talk loud. But I listened to some of the conversations about designs. I'm not a designer, so I listened to those conversations, and it is about highlighting more of downtown from the tourism committee standpoint. However, if we go and we kind of talk about it with the Johnson County Bureau, it seems like there might be some animosity somewhere. No, well, I'm not gonna say animosity, that's not a good word, but it seems to be some confusion about designing things. And if we can design what we would like to have downtown, and I think that would work just fine for us to highlight it. But I don't know how the design work. I think Nikki kind of picked up with, well, I can do some designing and I will send some information. But, you know, I think there might be just a little confusion that I hear. And, from, the Bureau as well as the Tourism Committee, we have some ideas, but it's like they don't mesh with the Bureau's ideas.
After you, Councilman.
Okay, this is gonna sound like a strong statement, but on your board, on the tourism board, we have someone who is employed
That's right.
by tourism. They're here. We all heard it one day where, one of the board members here in town who represents the town was a little bit, shaky about, mentioning things. You know, it's not about stepping on toes. It's about you knowing that we are paying them to do a job, but we have a little bit of control of what we want in our area to be.
Our tax dollars get spent the way our citizens want them spent.
Thank you.
That's what Councilwoman Whitley is saying, and I
Yeah.
want everybody to understand that.
So we actually could pull back the taxes of the motels and bring it back to Selma.
No, not that easy, that's a legislative thing.
Yeah.
We won't get into that. But the design of these billboards, I like it. What do you guys think? Just the general design. But when we get to the nitty gritty of what we're putting a picture up of, or what we're highlighting, that's where that direct guidance from tourism is needed. And quite frankly, that guidance needs to come within the guidelines of what we're saying here. I do not want to see us holding the bag for thriving businesses. That doesn't make any sense. These thriving businesses, I mean, you know, if you go to Dwayne's, you're not gonna accidentally stumble and fall and find yourself in downtown Selma. Now, look, I can give Rudy a little, cause you could say, look, you make it to Rudy, you might make it down the street, fine. But Old North State Food Hall have their own billboards. They make their own money.
And do you say Wayne have their own marketing as well?
They,
Whole marketing team.
We don't have a marketing team here in Selma to do that, so that's why we.
Taxpayer
work with the
dollars.
Bureau.
We're working with the Bureau to use our taxpayer dollars to work on that marketing.
yeah, I'm,
And then they want to change for it.
is this just for the first part of the year, for the first 2 quarters
What
of the
you have in
fiscal
your
year?
hand, I believe, are the designs for September, October, and, just September, October, maybe November. You have one with 2 on them? Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conversation that's been had about those, so,
Well,
we,
here's what I suggest we do. You seem to understand how to play with stuff as far as pictures and all that good stuff is concerned, correct? This general design is fine. We got what exit you're getting off of, we got Selma, we got our logos, we got dates. That's what we need. These pictures, and then what pieces we are particularly highlighting, we need to have a clear understanding from tourism. These are the businesses that are on the docket to be highlighted, if any. And then the pictures, if we can go around and, I mean, these aren't even as good as a new iPhone. I mean, come on. If we make sure that we're sending in the pictures that say, hey, with this billboard, this is your picture. We'll give them the direction and we'll roll from there, because I don't want them racking their brains trying to find pictures from the 1980s, okay?
Exactly.
Do we need any more direction from there?
No, I don't think so. I wish our chairperson was here, so we can speak, but that's okay.
That's all right.
I think you're doing a mighty fine job.
I will,
I
You're
think
you're
that
saying-
We can get some up-to-date pictures of downtown that we know that it needs to be on the design.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, does the Visitors Bureau not send people out to take pictures of the towns that are under their purview?
I know that they sent some, Jennifer out a couple Rock Island Rayfords ago, and I guess it wasn't as busy while she was here, so she said that, or they said that they didn't get some very good pictures. So I do try to take some of downtown. I've gotten a Google Drive that I share with the Visitors Bureau that I've uploaded some of the photos to, and I have more to upload. I do think that some of the, so there's a lot of conversations that go on during the tourism committee meetings, and then there's a lot of conversations that go on between the town and the Visitors Bureau also. And I think some of the confusion might come, so when I got all the boards in my lap, I was like, okay, we've got to talk about this with tourism, because it's not just, it's too much for one person to really get a consensus, for the boards. So I just kind of had to take the conversation to the tourism committee to get some feedback. But I think the communication when it comes from the Visitors Bureau to the tourism committee to me, and then we're all separate sometimes, it is a little bit hard to kind of get the feedback from the actual group when it comes to that.
Get your marching orders first from tourism. If there's any confusion or anything that feels like it might be outside of our guidelines, feel free to bother us about it any old time. But I hope we have given you a clear enough understanding and clear enough direction for what we have, at least for the coming months, that the tourism can take the ball and say, this is what we're doing. If we need to schedule some meetings in between, certainly talk to Chair Hamilton about getting that done. But the town of Selma needs to be branded properly, okay? And the town of Selma needs to understand where our deficiencies are, and we take taxpayer dollars to help with those deficiencies, not to line the pockets of folks who are pretty set as it is, okay?
When it comes to Railroad Days marketing and advertising, I know that there are some funds that are in the budget for the tourism budget to handle some of that. Is that direction that we need to take from you as far as the posters that are shared, the media that's shared?
Take it, broach it with tourism first, but again, that needs to all be very matchy-matchy.
Right.
Town of Selma colors, plain and simple. Again, if you glance at it, oh, that's the town of Selma, plain and simple. I don't want to see anything that looks like a random fiesta, okay, in any town. It needs to look like the town of Selma. So if you've got stuff you've put together, talk with the individual tourism board members, just get their temperature, emails. I tell everybody, if you want to avoid having a meeting outside of meeting guidelines, there's a button called BCC in your email line. That means everybody gets an individual email, everybody can respond individually, and you can take the time to cobble together the thoughts from there. But I want to make sure that Town of Selma stuff looks like Town of Selma stuff, and it's the stuff that these guidelines have laid out.
So can I ask, where's the billboard in Wilson Mills? Which one you talking about?
Across from the prison, I believe, right?
That one's been there for years. So that's not a brand new one.
It's a I think
Digital.
It's been for about a year digital.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's been a billboard, but I think what we're talking about new is it was always digital.
Yeah, so it's the digital billboard now, and now we're putting a digital
Right.
billboard up
But
there.
it's just like the one we got.
Yes, sir.
The other
So
side.
it's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's been
with that being said, again, make sure we go back and get a full understanding that those numbers need to be for both billboards.
Okay.
And then if we need to do some shuffling of tourism dollars, and in fact, ask the Johnson County Visitors Bureau to go ahead and give us an account of what they've spent in this year's budget as related to the budget line items.
I do
I'd
have a
love to see
financial
that.
report, that I can share.
Yeah.
Yep, I do have the financial report, if you guys would like to look over that, I can make you some copies.
Please
That
do.
is something that was brought to us, Ms. Taylor usually brings the financial reports to the committee meeting, to go over, so I do have those.
I would add just something maybe to ask, traffic count, the speed limit. So you go 55 to 65 and possibly 70, 75 in the near future versus a stop line catch me out. I don't know if that plays into it.
I believe the Catch Me Out board is, almost double what that one is, but at the Princeton board, you're actually at a stoplight also, so that's
Well, I'll tell you, I just came back from the beach and I cruised through 70 all the time, there's enough traffic for us to need to get that attention, no matter what they tell us.
I agree with it being on
All
both
these cute
sides.
little counts don't need to override common sense.
Agreed.
All right?
There is another billboard question. I believe you have a copy of that. Did you see a one pager? Yes. So this board is, the one at exit 98, the green and white one
Oh,
currently.
yeah.
This is actually committee feedback. This has been redesigned with committee feedback, and they did request to add the train station to that, so that's why I wrote that on there.
Makes sense to me.
Me too.
Do you guys like the design of that and the direction?
I like the design, simple, it looks like Selma colors. If you glance at it, you think Selma. Everybody good?
Oh, yeah.
You
Add
agree with
trains-
adding the train station to that?
Add train station to it, let's roll.
Perfect. Awesome.
Lovely.
Okay. I'll get you guys some.
I would just ask you, you said that the design that you see, we just need to, not that design, the other design that, I think those designs there, you like those designs, but we're talking about the pictures.
The pictures,
We need
and then we need to, yeah, and then we need to look at, you know, who we're advertising.
Yeah, we want to do more for the town of Selma.
Do it all
Right.
That's one of the things we
Downtown.
discussed is about doing more in the town of Selma. We need pictures, and I think Nikki said she was gonna help provide us with up-to-date pictures. You know, so I don't know where they get the pictures from. to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Absolutely.
But those
Okay.
pictures are, I think are not what we actually need currently.
Certainly they're not current.
They are not. That's
And
right.
as we go through this year, we will have more up to date that I'll have on the Google Drive for them to utilize going forward. So,
Like I said, don't get me wrong, we love our thriving businesses, but taxpayer dollars need to be used wisely to make sure it benefits all. All right?
And don't forget, this is not the first time they've heard this from us either.
I believe we have
well, I
said
think
this
having
before.
some clear direction as to the content, the pictures, I think that will help, for all of us to have the conversations, for the designs.
I'll make sure that I compose an email to encapsulate this conversation. I'll send it to the tourism board members and to you as well, to make sure that everybody is clear that this is what has been said, this is what needs to happen. All right? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Fantastic.
I will get
Fantastic.
you the copies of this for you guys to look at.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, up next, we've got to talk about the upcoming vacant council seat and the process for which we're going to fill that seat. So from the beginning, just in casual conversation with individual board members, I think we all agree we do need an application process.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that the opportunity to serve on the board is given to everybody.
Yes.
So with that being said, I think simply we already have a board committee form that's online. I suggest we use that form to have people fill out, and then instead of putting in something like tourism or appearance, they can actually write in Selma Town Council and turn that form in for their application to become a member of this board. Now, the first question I have, council, is time period for turning in an application. How long do we want to hold open the application process?
So 31st is Bruce's last day.
That's his last day. So
Today is the what?
17th, that would be a little under 2 weeks. Well, right at 2 weeks to really get that in. Do you think that's enough time?
I think so.
I mean, I think if you're interested, pull the trigger or not, right? So the application needs to be in by August 31st. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And let's make sure that we get this information on the website and on the Facebook page, going forward. Application needs to be in by August 31st. We'll get those applications in August 31st, and we will actually not probably get a chance to look at them until our work session in September. This is certainly something where we can't bring our heads together before then, because we can't have really a meeting without, or we can't do this without actually having a meeting. So then we would actually be looking at those on Yes, sir. Thursday, September 7th. And I know council, certainly we want to talk to prospects before we actually make a decision, and I don't anticipate us making a decision in September at all. Are we okay with that, or do we feel there's some need to rush?
We're good with it. I'm good with it.
Everybody's good? So we would take our first look at the incoming applications on September 7th. We then, and that would be part of a closed session, of course. What we would then do is, as we sort through the applications, I think we, of course, then decide who we'd want to bring in to actually sit down and talk to us at a later date. Would we like to attempt to have that conversation with prospects at the 12th meeting, or do we want to let it simmer through the next month as we consider?
I'd say do it
12th. What do you say?
If we can look at it and they're due the 31st, we'll talk about it the 7th. Well, shouldn't take us,
October, talking about. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, the next day would be October if we decide to hold
October
off. So, no, we're talking about September 12th.
September
So that would be our regular
the
council
council
meeting,
meeting.
where we would have contacted prospects and tell them to come in for the regular council meeting. So that gives us pretty much between the first glance at applications and then the 12th. Well, actually, how about this? We don't necessarily have to rush after we get the first glance at the 12th. If we have some prospects that we're comfortable with and want to call in on the 12th, we have that option. If not, we hold off. I don't think we
There
need
you
to
go.
tie ourselves to
Yeah,
anything, right?
I'm
Okay.
with that.
Okay, so we do know we'll take the first look at applications on September 7th. And then from there, we'll figure out a timeline for calling in, prospective, applicants, okay? Sound good? Is that clear as far as what needs to be done? Any questions or anything that we've missed that we need to discuss? Let's roll it, all right? Very good. Let's move on. What do we have up next?
Athletic.
That's right, we got an athletic coordinator job description to look at.
Before you, it's just a change, basically, the duties are staying the same. We just kind of looked at it and realized that really, if this person's reporting to a director, we didn't really see a need for supervisor to be in the title. They're not really supervising staff other than putting some part-time people in place. So the duties really aren't changing, it's just the name, athletic coordinator.
And this is good as we start venturing toward a new, a layout for our organization. Nomenclature is important as well, so very minor change. Council, do I have a motion to approve this, change to our job description for athletic coordinator?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ugh.
Rolling, good deal. And last but not least, we have a town manager contract to look at. We have had the pleasure of meeting and talking to Mr. Jeff Temple, who has said that he is interested in becoming our town manager for the town of Selma. Council, you do have a contract. Does anybody want the paper copy to hold on to look at? Good to go. We have all gotten a copy of this contract, and everybody's given 2 cents individually about what needs to be adjusted and straightened out. I think we have a very complete contract that will accomplish our goals, quite frankly. I will point out that the requirement to live in the town of Selma is still in there, and something that Mr. Jeff Temple very much agreed to and actually looked forward to coming to the town of Selma. So I think we have done our due diligence in our search. We've been incredibly patient, staff, rock stars in getting this sorted out and managing this process for us, and then coming with a fantastic result, I believe. So, thank you. Council, do I have a motion to approve the town manager agreement that you see before you.
So moved.
I second.
Give that second to this guy. Is there any discussion?
He comes to work tomorrow, right?
I think he hits the ground running
That's
tomorrow.
what's in the contract.
Yeah, in the contract, he
Starts
said, I'm
tomorrow."
ready to hit the ground running tomorrow. Yeah. Wow. So, with that being said, motion second on the table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. We'll get this contract signed up, and we're excited to have Mr. Temple in the town of Selma. His enthusiasm, his energy, and his knowledge, very impressive to all of us. We're ready to rock. Thank you, council. No closed session. Well, with that, we gotta get ready for rocking and rolling here in a little bit. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's get out of here.